Alright, time for level 3 systems. So what you're going to do is you're going to be solving these systems by elimination, like I mentioned, like it says here. But unlike the elimination that you're doing on level 2, this one, the coefficients, the numbers in front of the variables, do not match. So if we were to try to add here, we get 4x and negative 2y, and that didn't eliminate either variable, so that's not going to work. And if we were to try just subtracting here, you get 2x and then positive 6y. Also did not eliminate a variable, so we don't want either of those two things. And the way to deal with that is you actually have to just take one or both equations and times by a number. So if I look here, I got 3x and just x. Well, if this number was 3 times as big, right, this would be 3x, and then we could eliminate. Awesome. Or if I look at my y coefficients here, I can see that this one, if it was twice as much, would be the same as this one. So I could times by 2, and that would make these match, and then I could eliminate. So you can do either of those two options on all 4 of these. Just like, do you want to make the x's match or the y's match? You get to decide. On this first one, I'm going to take this bottom one and just times it all by 3. Just times 3. Wherever you do the little star thing. And that means I need to take all these things. Every single term gets times by 3. The whole equation through, even that right side. So I'm going to rewrite my equations. My second one is going to be 3x minus 12y equals negative 33. So all of them times by 3. My first equation, on the other hand, though, is just going to stay the same. I didn't times by any numbers, so then I got 3x plus 2y equals 9. Easy peasy. So now that I've done that, now I can look at my x's and say, okay, now I can eliminate. These have the same sign, and so I'm going to subtract, and that'll give me 0x. Awesome. Since I subtract there, I want to subtract down my other columns. 2 minus negative 12, be very careful with your signs, is positive 14y. And then 9 minus negative 3 is the same thing as 9 plus 33, which is going to give you 42. Awesome. So now I got that. I can finish solving for y. I divide by 14, and I got that y is 3. Hooray! At least I hope it's 3. I'm going to double check that. 42 divided by 14. Make sure I'm not leaving it straight. Okay, we got that. Y is 3. Cool. Just like on the other ones, once you get your y value, you do have to get your x value. So you can take this and put it into any of the equations. You can even put it in the new equation if you want to. Let's see. I think I'm just going to put it in the old first equation there. It looks a little bit nice there. So I got 3x plus 2 parentheses 3. Remember, when you substitute things in, you put it in parentheses. Always. That keeps going throughout the rest of math. And we're going to simplify. So we got 3x plus 6 equals 9. And do a little bit of solving here. Subtract the 6. Now we got 3x equals 3. And divide it all by 3. Divide by 3. And we got x is 1. Hooray! We got x is 1. We got y is 3. We put them together. You get 1, 3. And voila, you got the point. You got a solution to the system. Okay, let's jump to the other ones, and that's going to be the process that we're going to follow. So here I see, oh, my x's, I could take this and times by 4, or on my y's, oh, I could take this and times by 3. I kind of like times by 3 more than 4, so I'm going to take this entire one, and I'm going to times by 3 again to make my y's match up, and we're going to leave my first equation the same. So the first equation just stays negative 8x plus 15y equals 4. And then my bottom equation is going to turn into 6x minus 15y equals 12. Remember, all 3 terms get times by 3. So now that I got this, I can go ahead and eliminate. I see here these have different signs, so I'm just going to add, and that'll give me 0y. And so since I add there, I'm going to add on my other 2 columns, and I'm going to get negative 2x. The y doesn't do anything. And then we got 16. So now I'm going to finish solving, just divide everything by negative 2. We got x is negative 8. All right, we got our x value. Now we need to get our y value. Remember, you can put this in any of your equations. You could put it in the old ones. You could put it in the new one if you want to. I'm just going to put it in the second equation. It's got a little bit smaller numbers. So I'm going to do 2 times negative 8 minus 5y equals 4. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. So now to finish solving here, I'm going to add some 16. Add some 16. Got negative 5y equals 20. And we're going to divide everything by -5. And I got y is -4. Hooray! We got our y value, we got our x value, and now we can write it as our point, -8, -4. Parentheses. All right, there we go. We got the solution. Sweet. So let's jump to the second two here. And these are as hard as your systems are going to get. And then what makes them hard is there's not a nice number we can just times our bottom equation by or our top equation by to make these match up, right? 3 times something's -5, or 3 times something could be 10. They're not nice integers, and so what we're going to do is we're actually going to times both equations by something. Like I could times this by 3, and this one by 5, and then these would match up, right? They'd both be 15. Or I could take these two, I could times the top one by 3, and then the bottom one by 10, and then they would both be 30. So you just decide what you want to multiply by. I kind of like the times by 3 and times by 10 option, because times by 10 is easy. So yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to times this whole first one by 3, and times the whole second one by 10. And that's going to give me, let's see, write down what I get. I get -15x plus 30y equals -45. And then my bottom one times all by 10, you just add some zeros on stuff. So -30x plus 30y equals -180. On these ones, you're going to get bigger numbers like these, but that's okay. It's what happens. Okay, so now we're going to go through the process of eliminating. We went through that so these numbers would match. Excellent. So I'm going to take this. I see they both have the same sign, so I'm going to subtract 30 minus 30 is 0. So since I'm subtracting there, I'm going to subtract down my other two columns. That's going to give me positive 15x. I'm going to use my calculator for this. -45 minus -180. It's going to give me 135. Cool. Now I just need to divide by the 15 in front of my x. And we got that x is, again, calculator. Gives me 9. Awesome. So I got my x value of 9. I need to take this and put it into one of my equations. You can put it in the new ones, but those are kind of big numbers. I'm going to put it back over here in one of my first ones. And again, I kind of like the smaller number there, so I'm going to plug it into my second equation, my original second equation. When you plug it in, make sure you put it in parentheses. And I got plus 3y equals -18. So now it's just a matter of simplifying. That's not -27 plus 3y equals -18. I'm going to add 27. And now I got 3y equals 9. And divide both sides by 3. And got that y is 3. Awesome. I got y is 3, x is 9. So that makes my point 9, 3. Ta-da! Solution! So yeah, things are coming along pretty well there. Now I got my last one. If you want, you can give yourself a challenge and pause and see if you can do it yourself. I'm going to dive in. Okay, I see I got -5 and 8. Those can both be 40. Or these can both become, let's see, 42. Is that when they match up? Yeah. I'm just timesing the two numbers together and kind of seeing what I get. I kind of like getting these x's to match up. So I'm going to take my first one and times by 8. It's about 8 times by 8. And take my second one and times by 5. Remember, you have to times all three terms by that. So 8 times all those. 5 times 5 times 5 times all those. Okay, so that's going to be -40x. And then plus 48y equals -32. And on my bottom one, I got 40x plus 35y. And I don't know what 23 times 5 is, but I got a calculator. And it's good at stuff like that. So we got 115. Alright, awesome. I got my two new equations, and I got my x's to match up, which is what I did all the multiplying for. So these have different signs, so I'm going to be adding them, and that'll give me 0x. Since I add there, I'm going to add and add down my other columns. Let's see, 48 plus 35, just use a handy-dandy calculator. 83y. On the right side, -32 plus 115 is probably 83. Yay! So I'm going to divide both sides by 83. I got that y is 1. Woof! big numbers, but it comes out to be something nice, and that's normal for these kind of problems. So I'm going to take this, and I have to plug it into one of my equations. I can put it in the new ones, but those are big numbers. I don't want to do that. For the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to put in the bottom one. So now I got 8x plus 7 times 1 equals 23. So I got 8x plus 7 equals 23. I can subtract that 7. And now I got 8x equals 16. And divide both sides by 8. And I got x is 2. Hooray! Double check that. So now I got x is 2, y is 1. So I got the point 2, 1, and voila. So yeah, these second two take a lot more work, but you get bigger numbers. You just use a calculator. It's really good. It'll do things for you. So there you go. That's level 3 system.